What if the biggest thing, stealing your peace, isn't your job, your finances, or the people around you, but a handful of habits you've repeated for years without even noticing? The Stoics believed peace doesn't come from controlling the world around you. It comes from mastering yourself. Most of us spend our lives chasing approval, reacting to every inconvenience, and worrying about things we can't change. Bit by bit, we give away our freedom without realizing it. Today, we're looking at 7 things a Stoic would never do. As we go through them, ask yourself one question. Am I giving away my peace without even knowing it? Because once you recognize these habits, you can't unsee them. Let's start with the first one. 1. A Stoic would never let other people's opinions control their life. Imagine handing the remote control to your emotions to everyone you meet. One rude comment, one criticism, one sarcastic remark, and suddenly your mood changes. That's how many people live. A Stoic refuses to live that way. If your happiness depends on someone else's opinion, then your peace is no longer yours. It's theirs. Think about social media. One post gets hundreds of likes, and you feel great. The next one gets ignored, and suddenly you're questioning yourself. Nothing about you actually changed. Only other people's reactions did. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that people will misunderstand you. They'll criticize you. They'll judge you. That's life. So instead of chasing approval, focus on what you actually control: your character, your choices, your integrity. Because the people who stop chasing validation usually earn the most respect. Not because they're trying to, but because authenticity is impossible to fake. And once you stop living for other people's opinions, you begin to notice another habit that's been quietly draining your energy. 2. A Stoic would never waste energy on what they can't control. Have you ever stayed awake worrying about something that never happened? Most of us have. We worry about tomorrow, the economy, what someone thinks about us, the future. The Stoics believed this was one of the greatest wastes of human energy. Not because problems aren't real, but because worry rarely solves them. Imagine yelling at the sky because it's raining. It sounds ridiculous. Yet many of us do the same thing every day by arguing with reality instead of accepting it. Epictetus offered a simple rule. Separate what you can control from what you can't. You control your effort, not the outcome. You control your attitude, not other people. Once that distinction really sinks in, life feels lighter, not because life gets easier, but because you're no longer carrying burdens that never belong to you. Real strength isn't controlling the world. It's mastering your own mind. But even if you understand that, there's another trap waiting. 3. A Stoic would never react before they reflect. Picture yourself driving home. Someone cuts you off. Your heart races. Your jaw tightens. Within seconds, you've let a complete stranger determine your emotional state. A Stoic would never willingly give someone that power. The Stoics believe there's always a space between what happens and how you respond. You can't always stop anger from showing up, but you can choose whether it stays. Modern life rewards instant reactions. News, social media, text messages. Everything feels urgent. But immediate isn't always wise. A calm mind sees what an emotional mind cannot. So the next time someone insults you, instead of asking, "How do I get even?" ask, "Why am I giving this person the power to disturb my peace?" That one question changes everything. Because real strength begins the moment you stop reacting. and start responding. But emotional control is only half the battle. There's another habit that's become so normal. Most people don't even realize it's holding them back. 4. A Stoic would never compare their life to someone else's. No matter how successful you become, there will always be someone with more. A bigger house, a better job, more money, more followers. Comparison never ends. The Stoics understood that comparison doesn't show you reality. It shows you a distorted version of it. Think about social media. You're comparing your everyday life to someone else's highlight reel. You see their victories, but not their struggles. Their success, but not the years of failure that came before it. Seneca warned that people don't become miserable because they have too little. They become miserable because they keep measuring themselves against everyone else. Instead, compare yourself to one person. The person you were yesterday. Are you a little wiser, a little calmer, a little more disciplined? If so, you're already moving in the right direction. Because the moment you stop looking sideways, you finally have enough energy to move forward. And that's where the next lesson begins. 5. A Stoic would never complain. Without taking action, complaining feels productive, but most of the time, it changes absolutely nothing. Stoicism doesn't tell you to ignore your problems. It tells you to ask a better question. What can I do about this? Marcus Aurelius believed obstacles aren't interruptions to life. They are life. Every challenge is a chance to practice patience, discipline, courage, or wisdom. Imagine two people losing the same job. One spends months blaming everyone else. The other asks, "What's the next skill I need to learn?" 6 months later, their lives look completely different. Not because one got lucky, but because one chose growth over blame. The Stoics believed every minute spent complaining about what you can't change is a minute taken away from changing what you can. 6. A Stoic would never live without purpose. Have you ever reached a goal, only to realize it didn't make you as happy as you expected? That's because achievements alone don't create fulfillment. Purpose does. The Stoics believed a meaningful life isn't about collecting accomplishments. It's about understanding why you're pursuing them. Imagine two people laying bricks. One says, "I'm laying bricks." The other says, "I'm building a cathedral." Same work, completely different mindset. Purpose transforms ordinary effort into something meaningful. So ask yourself, if nobody applauded you, if nobody even knew your name, what kind of work would still matter to you? That's usually where purpose begins. Because in the end, life isn't asking what you've accumulated, it's asking who you've become. And that leads to the final lesson. 7. A Stoic would never trade their character for comfort. Most people think they lose themselves all at once, but it rarely happens that way. It happens one small compromise at a time. One lie, one excuse, one moment where comfort wins over courage. Again and again, until you barely recognize yourself. The Stoics believed your character is your greatest possession. Money can disappear, careers can change, reputations can be damaged, but your integrity can only be lost if you choose to give it away. That's real freedom. Not controlling other people, but refusing to let circumstances control you. So ask yourself, who are you when nobody's watching? Because that's the person you're becoming. Not the version you post online, not the version other people expect. The real you. And that's what Stoicism has always been about. Not perfection. Practice, not becoming emotionless, becoming intentional, not avoiding hardship, but becoming strong enough to meet it with wisdom. Imagine where your life could be a year from now if you practiced even one of these principles every day. How much stress would disappear? How many arguments would never happen? How much stronger would you feel knowing your peace no longer depends on someone else's opinions, actions, or approval? That's the quiet strength the Stoics wanted us to discover. Not a life without problems, but a life where problems no longer control you. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more timeless Stoic wisdom to help you build a calmer mind, stronger character, and a life guided by purpose instead of circumstance. And remember, the strongest person in the room usually isn't the loudest. It's the one who's learned to master themselves.